Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 3 of the Now We Know podcast. And I am very glad to welcome to the show today, first time on the show, but we've got some cool things to talk about. Mr. Brian Volk-Weiss of the Nacelle Company. Brian, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, can you hear me? It said I was on mute. It said I was on mute. It is good to be here. Thank you for having me.
We last got
long-time fan.
Yeah, well, same to you. And we last got the chance to talk at Toy Fair, where you were very busy with a lot of the things that were happening. Talking about the Nacelle shared universe with some of the cool toys that have rolled out since then, like Sectars and the Biker Mice from Mars, and more to come. But you have today we're really focusing on, because you are kind of expanding into a new space with a new action figure line based off of the Expanse.
We prefer to say expansing.
Expansing. That's a good word for that.
My mom raised a boy who's good with puns. So, we are expansing into new areas.
Yeah. So, what made the Expanse a good fit for you guys, and what was the opportunity that you saw that you wanted to take advantage of, bringing us some toys?
Yeah, it really was two things. One. I'm a fan of the Expanse, a diehard fan. You can go back on Instagram 5 years. I mean, my resume speaks for itself as it relates to Expanse fandom. And we make toys. So I mean, so it was crazy. I had a meeting at Alcon that was 100% about me trying to convince them to co-finance documentaries that we're making.
Oh, right on.
The entire purpose of the meeting.
Yeah.
Early in the meeting, I noticed that one of the people on his arm, are you an Expanse fan?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So he had on his arm a like almost identical replica via tattoo of the symbols on the side of the Razorback. So, it starts with, the Kitty Hawk, space shuttle, yada, 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 and ends Razorback. So I said to him, I go, hey man, that is I don't have any tattoos, but if I were to get one, I might get that one. This is 2 minutes into the meeting that was only supposed to be about getting money to make stuff together.
Yeah.
The rest of the meeting was about the Expanse. The guy was like, his name's Ben. Ben was like, dude, you see this conference room we're sitting in? I'm like, yeah. He doesn't really talk like that. In fact, he talks the opposite of that. He's like, dude, do you know this room? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is where every single episode of The Expanse was written. My arms at that point covered with goosebumps. Then another guy in the meeting, his name was Carl. Carl was like, hey man, I saw you announced last week that you're making toys. I'm like, yeah, we're doing Robo Force and Biker Mice and yada, 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 Garloo. And he was like, why don't you do the Expanse toys? We never talked about money again. It was literally the entire meeting became about the Expanse and making the toys. That's how it all happened.
Wow. Well, this is something that's fun, and I want to pull it up here because you guys are currently in the midst of the Kickstarter campaign to bring these toys to life. So let me share my screen real quick so that we can like take a look at not only what the lineup that you have going, but we're very, very, very close to funding. It ends next week as of this recording, and I think you're going to get there.
Knock on wood, man.
Yeah.
It was, I will say this, we have never done a Kickstarter before. Not sure if we're ever going to do it again. I believe it's in the highly unlikely category. Last week was definitely a nail biter. That was not fun.
Having been through one myself, it's a roller coaster range of emotions, and that's putting it lightly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I've been doing this 25 years in Hollywood. I've definitely been through some stressful stuff. And again, let's just be honest for a second. We're not curing cancer. Nobody's dying of cancer.
Yeah.
So I should be embarrassed that I'm saying a Kickstarter is stressful. Or I guess I should say my life is very blessed that this
Yes.
is what I find stressful.
This is where the stress comes from, right?
But
Yes.
that being said, last week was not fun. I am definitely preferring this week to last week. Yeah.
Good. Good, good, good. Well, it looks like from the beginning, the Expanse is going to have an expansive lineup in terms of figures that we're and characters that we're going to get to, right?
You must have known my mom. That was my mom.
I'm learning as we go along here.
Yes. And I'm so, first of all, I'm glad you brought that up, but I mean, this is going to sound so crazy as a guy who was just talking about the misery of Kickstarter last week. I mean, part of my honest to God hope of getting funded and everything, I want to make more. Like there
Yeah.
are so many characters, DAWs, like so many characters we want to make, so many accessories we want to make, so many, like there's so much I want to make. And this has to work to make more. So yes, we started, by the way, I'll tell you a crazy fact. Nacelle, we have never had a first wave more than 3 characters.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Yeah.
The fact that we started this with 8 and all the accessories, I mean, it has been quite the adventure.
It's a lot. So with that said, what made Kickstarter the right avenue for this, at least at the onset of when you decided you were wanting to get this action figure line together?
Everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody connected to this process said, use Kickstarter. It's where the Expanse people live. Fun fact, not true. And just use like the if I were to take what everybody said and put it into one sentence, it was everything that has come out from the Expanse, except for Eagle Moss, rest in peace. Everything that came out was done through Kickstarter, and you should use Kickstarter. And, we've never done anything like this. It's our first like license deal where we don't own the property.
Right.
There are multiple companies involved that have been working with the Expanse for over a decade. Who am I to argue? And
Yeah.
listen, and I'm not saying they were wrong. There's no way to know what was right or wrong because obviously we can't go back in time and try a different thing. But it's we'll see where we end up if I'm like, woo, I'm glad we did this or not. But that being said, if we end up breaking $10 million, I still don't know if I would use Kickstarter ever again.
Well, you mentioned that this is your first foray into using Kickstarter, but I have to say, from a preparedness and kind of an overall, readiness standpoint in terms of what you have been able to show along the way with the Kickstarter campaign, which I think is extremely important. It's like the more you can show about where you are in the process and how it's going to end up, I think that's definitely helpful. But you've got, the renderings for the figures, some great packaging design with relevant artwork and whatnot. What was that like building up to kind of front load the readiness for something like this before launching a campaign?
I mean, it was so wild because again, like just sheer numbers. We've never had to coordinate more than 3 characters at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And as you may know, only Biker Mice was 3 characters. Every other line we've done is 2.
Right.
So, but by the way, Robo Force Wave 2 is going to be 6.
Yeah.
But even that isn't 8. I mean, I'm not the best at math, but I believe that's still less than 8. So it was really interesting. And I'll tell you the answer I should give you, and then I'll tell you the answer I shouldn't give you.
Uh-huh.
The answer I should give you is, we did the artwork and we did the CGI. We had 2 of the characters, Ava Solara and Drummer. We had the paint masters and we put it out and everybody seemed happy and everything started moving. So that was great. So that's the official answer.
Mm-hmm.
Off the record answer, which of course is not off. I see that red thing. That
We are recording.
I'm pretty sure this isn't off the record, but one of the things I know everybody tells me I shouldn't do this, which I don't understand why, but everyone tells me not to read comments. And I think that's crazy. So I read everything. I read
Oh.
at like when my kids are in bed and I'm laying next to them, like waiting for them to be 100% asleep because you know they do that stuff with one eye open crap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm reading comments, man.
Yeah.
And I read so many comments and I basically realized, oh, everything we've done before, we were targeting the toy community and the geek community.
Mm-hmm.
This time, we were targeting fans of a TV show.
Yeah.
We're not used to seeing CGI renders. So and by the way, I have never used this expression and meant it more. If anything, it's an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
We warp speeded getting the paint masters done. So, I mean, we had planned to do like 2 to 3 paint masters before the campaign ended.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally now looking at 8. Like, we literally just got Naomi yesterday.
Wow.
Here's my camera. So she just came in yesterday. You can even see the purple highlights in her hair. Look at that. Look at that fade.
Oh, yeah.
As someone with no hair, I
Very
always
nice.
get good hair. So we realized like people were looking at the CGI at the renders and we're like, well, that doesn't look great. And I'm like, at first my knee-jerk reaction was to be a little defensive. I was
Right.
like, it's a render.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I think we're talking to a community that may not have bought a toy since they were 10.
Right.
So, you know, at WonderCon this coming Sunday, we are going to have all the paint masters there. We have a pretty big in the Expanse world.
Yeah.
You know, I got to keep doing the we're not curing cancer caveat, but we have a pretty big surprise that we're revealing on Friday on Sunday at the Kickstarter at WonderCon. So yeah, so we really had to like learn, okay, we're not shooting fish in a barrel with the toy community. You know, we have to engage people that literally probably have these beautiful offices in their homes. And again, look at who's talking to each other right now in our backgrounds, like who have never had a toy on
Yeah.
have never had a toy on a desk. So once we started getting these updates out with the paint masters, that was when that was when losing money kind of ended and gaining money again began.
Mm-hmm.
That's an example of something we learned.
That's those are some very astute observations with that, and it is one of those examples where reading the comments, if it when you read comments, if you know how to, you know, compose yourself to react in a positive way, as you're saying, it can oftentimes be invaluable, and it's really cool that the timing of, you know, kind of the end of the campaign is coinciding for when you're going to be at WonderCon, and you're talking about some surprises. So it's going to be a full court press with all the paint masters and everything out there for real at WonderCon, huh?
Oh yeah, and again, you know, Wes is going to be there too, the actor who plays Amos. So,
Awesome.
and by the way, I mean, I assume you realize this is no coincidence. I mean, literally, everything was planned.
Yeah.
I mean, even the fact that we have like 5 days after one, like it was all planned out. Again, we don't. It's too early to know if it was a good plan, but at the very least, everything was planned. Like the only thing that wasn't planned was racing, getting the paint masters done. And by the way, we are using our #1 best designer. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Bad news, he lives in Italy.
Oh,
So you have to add 2 days. And
yeah.
that's the best. I mean, that's paying the most you can pay to FedEx.
Right.
You have to add 2, so we don't have some guy down the street. By the way, we know a lot of designers down the street we could have used.
Right.
So it's not like we got a guy down the street like driving these here, or we could send a runner. Like we literally have this amazing guy in Italy designing these things, and then they got to get shipped here.
Wow. Well, you know, that coupled with, as you mentioned, I think the prudent approach that you've taken in the past with handling 2 or 3, you know, figures per wave at a time, I think it kind of gets lost on people that having eight in a series, that it's not like one really builds off the other. They each just bring their own challenges and their own focus. So what has that? Because I enjoyed hearing about, reading the comments and addressing a certain audience a certain way. How has gotten larger in a wave kind of changed how you've focused or really looked at things as you have before?
Well, we had to hire more people. I mean, let's start with that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's funny. I have all of them right here. Maybe not the sex. There's the proto molecule.
Yeah, but they are there.
Next to Amos. But it's funny. So like, you got Bobby here, her Goliath suit, obviously, that's metal. Then you got the proto molecule, that's organic, weird blue shit. So, you're doing all this. Then, and this has never been seen before publicly, we just got it yesterday, then you got to design these accessories.
Yeah.
And then the accessories, they range from a wrench to not only a helmet, but a helmet with a head inside it.
Right. And you have to be able to see that face behind that clear plastic too.
Exactly. Then, I mean, look at her dress.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, so when you're doing Robo Force, which was, as we said, was only 2 characters initially, they're both metal. They have common hips.
Yeah.
Common knees. Parts of their shoulders are common. You don't have a dress with 89 colors on it.
Yeah.
Next to a battle armor suit with an integrated minigun. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at those bullets.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I don't know if you can see this in the camera. That's her minigun.
Yeah.
The
right in there. Yeah.
Have holes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we had to do 8 of these simultaneously, and then you got to get like a hoodie done right. So
yeah,
the Goliath suit, we've got a dress with a million colors, and then you got to get a hoodie done right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like they're all wearing, as you mentioned, the same uniforms and things like that. Everything's unique.
To the best of my knowledge, there is not a single common part.
Wow.
With these characters, not one. I'll show you. Where is it? Too much crap here. Oh, here it is. This is one of my favorite things. And by the way, this is something we had to learn and we never knew.
Yeah.
Here's Bobby's helmet for her Goliath suit.
Yeah.
So first helmet came. I'm like, this is great. Oh my God, I got Bobby. Helmet wouldn't go on. So you'll notice she's got a bun.
Yeah.
So we had to tell the designer, yo, you got to make some space for her bun.
Yeah.
You see
cut
that?
it out. Yeah, I see the cutout in there.
So let me just put it this way. Max 89 from Robo Force does not have a bun. He does not wear a helmet. So we learned a lot of stuff as we went.
Well, I'm always, very interested to kind of hear about that whole process because, as you said, having to do unique parts for armor and things like that from someone in the action figure community, it's like, oh yeah, we expect, work and focus to be put on that. But I think it's the little things like accounting for a hair bun that are the most unlooked for. But to me, it's like they make for the most interesting stories as you talk about your journey through bringing, characters from screen to plastic, right?
Yeah. It's funny. The origin of my career is stand-up comedy. I wasn't a comedian. I was a manager who represented comedians.
Mm-hmm.
Comedians have this great expression. So whenever anything goes wrong, like a hell gig, you're renting a car and the tires explode at 2 in the morning in between gigs, they have this saying, I'll tell that story on panel. And what that means is when a comedian like goes on the Tonight Show or goes on Kimmel, they need to have stories to tell.
Right.
And it works is not to let your audience know there's no Santa Claus. So literally a producer comes into the dressing room before the show and says, what do you want to talk about? So they got to have all these interesting stories. And I always liked it because psychologically, for comedians, which have an incredibly difficult job, to put it mildly, especially
Yeah.
when they're starting out, it's just such a good psychological premise of whenever anything goes wrong, whenever anything's bad, whenever they bomb, they always can find a silver lining to that
Yeah.
problem. So that's how I felt about this with the hair bun, where it's like, oh my God, we need to make a new helmet from scratch and it's coming from Italy and blah, blah, blah. But then part of me is like, maybe one day I'll be on a podcast and that'll be the story I tell. So that's my version of, we'll have that for panel.
It makes a diverse work history, from dealing with giant robots to motorcycles for mice to ride to intergalactic hair buns. Man, you're covering the gamut in all things that you are doing now.
That's right.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about it. But the Expanse action figure line Kickstarter is running right now, very close to funding. It ends on April 4th, but in the interim, the Nacelle Company will be making an appearance at WonderCon, where you can see all of the freshly completed prototypes on hand to admire and make that final push to the end, right?
That is correct. Yes, and Wes Chatham will be there.
Awesome.
So that alone worth coming to. He's, in my opinion, the best part of Ahsoka. So he will be there. And I just want to be very clear. Like, even though we haven't hit our goal yet, I'm confident that we will.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fan support, has just been, to say we wouldn't even be close to our goal without the fans would be a huge understatement. I've seen fans like respond to negative comments the way I can't.
Yeah.
Where you'll see one person be like, whoa, and then like 2 minutes later, someone else is like, yo, back off, man. Like, and I'm like, it's just beautiful to be a part of that community.
That's one of the great things that a Kickstarter campaign can help generate too, is because people feel a little bit of ownership to it because they want it to happen, you want it to happen, and it's kind of a coming together. And those last 2 days are going to be everything that you've experienced in like the first 28 days compressed into a 48-hour period. So I'm confident too that you guys are going to hit it, but it's that week, you've still got about a week, and it's gonna be a tense week probably, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping for this famous last 48 hours.
Yeah.
Everyone tells me the last 48 hours should be at least as good as the first 48.
Yeah.
And we did 80 grand the first day.
Then
so
you're home then.
we do half of that. If we do half of that, I've had a very weird career in that, like, stuff that should be hard, we kind of pull off in a normal way, and stuff that should be easy has always been really hard for us. So I am if we do half of day one, let alone half of day 1 and 2, I believe we're going to be all right.
Well, I think it's going to be great. I can't wait. I'm very excited, and absolute best of luck in the final week of the campaign. And I wish it all the success in the world. And I can't wait to see what's next. So I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us today. But hopefully we'll get to do it again soon to see where you're going to be next, not only with the Expanse, but as the Nacelle-verse continues to expand as well.
We got a pretty good announcement coming out in April, April 23rd.
All right. I will be marking that on the calendar, and your guys are always great at sending us information, so we'll get it out there. But Brian, again, best of luck to you. Have fun at WonderCon this weekend, and I can't wait to see the Expanse figures in our future, sir.
You're very kind. Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today. Episode 3 of the Now We Know podcast. Head on over to Kickstarter and back the Expanse action figure line by the Nacelle Company. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you again soon.
Thank you.